What's up, everybody? Welcome to Chatting with Chapman. I am your host, Andre Chapman, also known as Dre Made It Happen. And I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down and chatting with the 2015 Pan American junior champion in the, sorry, 2015 Pan American Junior Championship gold medalist in the 4x4 and bronze medalist in the Open 400, the 2017 World Championship 400 meter qualifier, a 2017 World Championship gold medalist in the 4x4, the 2018 NCAA indoor 400 meter champion, and set the indoor 400 meter record as well, and the American indoor 400 meter record, the 2018 NCAA indoor 4x4 champion, 2018 NCAA outdoor 400 meter runner up, the 2018 NCAA 4x4 champion, which everybody has seen that clip of her running down the runner from that other school. I'm not going to throw the school out there, but y'all know.
Her split's going to be interesting.
Oh, and USC bobbles the baton at the pass.
And that puts Kentucky in fourth. Oh, SC passing on the inside. I'm not sure if that was incidental contact necessarily, but Purdue is winning this race so far. Janaea Mitchell for Purdue on the anchor. Kendall Ellis for USC now into third for Kentucky. That is K.L. Clark.
K.L. Clark, a great closer for Kentucky, and I just don't know if Purdue is going to get caught.
No, there's no way it's going to, unless they drop the baton. Purdue's going to win this, which we certainly didn't see.
Here comes SC.
USC is not going to catch Purdue, I don't think. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look what's just happening. USC wins the women's team title in the last meter of the 4x4. Unbelievable final leg by Kendall Ellis.
50.0 on the split. I almost had a heart attack.
Well, it just doesn't get better than that.
She's a 14-time NCAA Division I All-American, 7-time Pac-12 conference champion, and 5 times MPSF Mountain Pacific Sports Federation champion. She's a 2019 World Championship gold medalist in the 4x4, 2020 Tokyo Olympian and gold medalist in the 4x4. Not done yet, y'all. 2024 USA Outdoor National Champion, 2024 Paris Olympic qualifier, and a mentor and a volunteer off the track for organizations like Voice in Sport and Athletes for Hope. Thank you so much, Kendall, for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So just a little background about the podcast. I always started off like this, just sharing the reason as to why I started this and why this is so monumental and special for me. I started this because I wanted a platform where high school athletes could learn from athletes at the highest level and understand that the mental game never stops. It's something that you have to continuously work on. And my goal is for them to come back, look at these episodes, as well as their parents and coaches, and, turn on the podcast and understand that these episodes serve as guidance, inspiration, motivation, and they could, learn a few things here and there and add that to their daily routine. So again, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
So my first question is, what mental skills have been crucial in your development and progression from high school to college to the Olympics?
I think the biggest, maybe not so much a skill, but more of a resource, was finding a good sports psychologist, therapist. That was a massive game changer for me, just because I had a lot of feelings, had a lot of things going on, and didn't quite know how to deal with them all. And my coach didn't necessarily know, my parents didn't necessarily know. So it was like a trusted and licensed professional who was like dedicated to helping athletes with the mental side of the game. And so once I got connected with him and we started talking and going over certain triggers for me and certain tips and tricks, like visualization has been huge. Establishing my thoughts, like having a negative thought and replacing it with a positive one, and just certain things that he's taught me throughout the last, I think, 10 years now that we've been working together,
Wow.
have been massively helpful. But having that trusted resource, someone who's licensed and knows so much more than I do, has been huge.
Yeah, yeah. That is can you share a little that's amazing, but can you share a little bit about the time where you were sort of, it sounds like, depending on your parents, depending on coaches, depending on them, and realizing, hey, this isn't cutting it. I need something more. I need more than what I'm being offered right now. What was that time like that made you seek a professional?
Yeah, it was actually my parents and coach who made me seek professional help. It was not a very like sassy, surly 18-year-old who like wasn't interested. I was very much in denial for a long time about like I don't need help, like I'm fine, like I'm still winning races, but
Mhm.
like it was such a process to get me to win the race, and like all the feelings I was going through beforehand, like I was crying and shaking and having full-blown panic attacks like before I stepped onto the line, and falling apart at like major competitions where I had won my high school state meet freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. And every single year, my coach would make me go to the New Balance Nationals that summer. And I'm coming in ranked, typically top three, and never achieved that every single year consistently. And it was so frustrating for myself, my coaches, my parents, people like who know how great I was. And so my senior year of high school, my parents and coach had like a literal intervention. Like I remember being at my coach's house and like my parents came and they were like, you need help. Like, we love you. We hate seeing you suffer like this before competitions. Like, you're so talented. And imagine what you could do if you got this under control. And so they forced me to go see a therapist, and I was so mad. I remember I didn't speak the entire first session for an hour. Me and that man were just, I was just staring at him, and I let him lead. And as time progressed and I got more comfortable and we got to talking, it was one of the best things my parents and coaches could have done for me. So I didn't realize I needed help, very, very resistant to it. But thankfully, those around me who love me and care for me made sure I got the help that I ultimately needed.
Yeah. There are two things I absolutely love about that story. It's one is the importance of having people in your life who can speak to things that you may not even recognize and want the best for you. I think so many times parents don't know how to help, coaches don't know how to help. They want to be able to help, but it sounds like they came together and like, hey, we need to figure out how we're going to help her, how we're going to help get Kendall right. And then they took those necessary steps to find sports psychologists, a mental performance coach, and really invested in this area because people say track is 90% mental, right? And so seeing that you won freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year state, and then you go to the summer and you're not getting the results that you want, it's clear that you were in the physical shape to make that happen, but there was a block stopping you mentally.
Right. Absolutely. And I think it also goes to show like my parents, my coach didn't have a big enough ego to be like, well, we can fix it. We can help her. I was like, yeah, we don't quite know what to do. So let's seek out additional help and see what they can do for her.
That's huge right there. That is huge because so many coaches have that ego to where they don't want to say they don't know, right? I've
Right.
met many coaches, especially in all ranks of life, where they don't want to step aside. An athlete changes coaches because they say, "Hey, you can't get me there," and there's some animosity. But huge shout out to your coach, your parents, and all the coaches out there that aren't allowing their ego to stop the kids from progressing and achieving greatness.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. How do you prepare for you kind of touched on this a little bit for high school, right? Talking about panic attacks and stuff like that. How do you prepare for these big moments, the USA national championships, Olympic championships, right? How did you prepare back then and now what's the strategy that you use?
Yeah, I think back then I was really big on like isolating. I had a bad habit of just like removing myself from my teammates, removing myself from my friends, and like very much being in this bubble of I have to do this, like I have to win, I have to run like this. And it was like to be 17, 18 years old and like robbing yourself of the joy of getting prepared with your teammates and having fun with them. And it was like everyone else is enjoying and lighthearted. And it's like, don't talk to Kendall because like one, she's mean when she's about to compete. And it's just like I hated looking back that like that's the kind of athlete that I was and that's how I prepared. But I think now I am a lot more mature and I'm in a state of like trying to keep things as normal as possible, not making the moment too big, no matter how important it may be, like US champs, kind of just keeping my routine the same. Like I like to watch YouTube, so I'm watching shows and like movies before my race. I am talking to my friends, like texting and talking on the phone with them and trying to keep my routine as normal as possible, like it is day to day. One, to keep my body and my brain like at ease and keep it calm, thinking like, oh, this is just another day. Like we do this before practice every time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I really like to try to keep things as neutral and calm as possible now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story because I feel like I know a couple athletes in particular on the high school level who are struggling with understanding that pre-race ritual. And so I've seen the let me isolate, let me not talk to anybody. And that takes the fun out of
Uh,
it takes the fun out of the race and it puts an enormous amount of pressure on you because it's actually the opposite of what you shared, where you're trying to keep everything normal. It's like now saying, no, this is a really big moment and you can't mess this up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough to find that like balance between what works for you and what gives you like the best experience. And so it's tough. I know like to a certain extent, like, maybe like 15, 20 minutes before call time, it's like, okay, like we are kind of doing a little bit of isolation to like
Hmm.
really lock in, but 2 hours, 3 hours beforehand, it's like, why am I not enjoying this moment with my friends?
Yeah. 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 I like that. Can you share a time about when you were in a slump and then how you got out of that slump?
Yeah. I graduated 2018. And so as the intro said, I had all the accolades. I had everything on paper that you would need to get a contract. And so I was expecting June after nationals, I got second. And I was expecting like, okay, I should be one of the first like 5, 6 people to get a contract. Men and women included, and especially on the women's side, I should have been like top three to get a deal. And so that's not what happened. I didn't sign my deal until I think January. And
Wow.
so July, August, September, October, December. Yeah, 6, 7 months of no deal and just not understanding like I did everything I could have possibly done. Like I have all the accolades. I see people getting signed. No shade to them, but I see people
Yeah.
who should have gotten a contract before me
Yeah.
getting a deal.
Yeah.
And I was just so incredibly sad. Like that was the most depressed time of my life. And showing up for fall training, still, who wants to run 500s when I'm sad? And like October, I cried all 31 days of October. I remember
Wow.
that so distinctly. I cried every single day the month of October. And it was just such a bad time. Like I wasn't signed. I had just graduated. I was the only one out of my friends who had graduated who was going pro. And so everyone had left California. I moved from campus to like a different side of town by myself. And so I didn't have many friends. I was unsigned. I was going through a breakup and he was like blowing up on the track scene. So it was just like all
Yeah.
these things happening that I just could not handle. And I remember like going to sleep and I was like, God, I hope I don't wake up in the morning. Like that would just be so much easier than having to like face the day of uncertainty and then the day after that. And I think once I had that thought, I was like, oh, you need help. Like you need you need help. And this is beyond like just on the track stuff. Like this is like your well-being and personal things. Like you need help. And that really sprung me into action. Like the next morning I woke up and I was searching for a therapist because I was like, this isn't okay and this isn't a way for me to live and I need someone to talk to. I need advice, I need guidance. And so clearly I love reaching out to professionals who are wiser and smarter than me. But that 2018, 2019 period of being unsigned was such a difficult process for me.
I could feel that emotion when you were describing it and just, thinking about that myself of you came off of such a high at the NCAAs and then to be in this place of 6 months just looking around, other people are getting signed. This is your dream. I can't imagine how challenging that must have been.
I was down bad. That was down so bad. Like yeah, that was like one of the roughest moments of my career. And yet I'd also say like track wise, like 2017, that was the first senior USA team I had made. I got third at trials, and so I ended up qualifying for world champs for the open 400. And I'm just a junior in college, and my coach and I were like aiming for relay position, to be quite honest. And we ended up getting individual, and so that was I got to Worlds in London, and it was so overwhelming, and I put an immense amount of pressure on myself, and I cracked. I cracked so badly, and I remember being on the warm-up field like in tears, having a full-blown panic attack and trying to warm up and trying to calm myself down, but got out onto the track, and I'm pretty sure you could like see it in my intro, like eyes red, puffy, like clearly I just got done crying and ran horribly as expected. And after that moment, I remember telling myself like, wow, I never want to feel like that again. Like this was one of the worst feelings I've ever felt prior to competition. And I need to do everything I can to make sure like I don't feel like this again. And I think I had tapped into my therapist again because it kind of was a point, like you mentioned before, like it has to be something you do consistently, and it has to be something you keep working on. I think I got to a place where I was like, no, I'm so good. Like I got a little cocky and was like, I'm okay. And then reality hit and I was not okay. And I was like, okay, we're locking back into therapy. And I had an incredible like 2018 senior season after
Wow.
that.
Wow. Wow. It's it's funny because when everything is good, you want to let go of the things that helped get you to that place.
Yes.
And
It's
then
humbling.
it's very humbling. It's very, and I think that that's something that we all struggle with is like, okay, I've been on my routine. I'm seeing the results. I don't need to be focused on this anymore. And it's which is why I do this podcast, because the mind is something you do have to continuously work on, as if just like how you go to practice every day. These are routines and habits that you do have to build up. Can you talk a little bit about um, how practicing these tools then benefited you at the meets, right? Like, how did you use these skills in practice that your therapist was showing so that when you were stepping to the meet, it wasn't like, hey, I'm visualizing for the first time. Let me just do this now.
Yeah. It really started in practice. I had to start quite literally using the tools that I've been learning for meets. I had to start doing it in practice. And so when it came to like difficult workouts and things like that, I would visualize beforehand. And like even when I'm at the line, I'm approaching it in practice, like, okay, you need to work on getting out hard your first 50. Let's start doing that in practice like right now. So that when it comes to the meet, it's natural. It's what you've been doing every single day. And same for the mental aspect. It was like you can't just kind of like turn it on. Like it's a skill and a muscle that you quite literally have to work out and practice. And so yeah, I started using practice like I would notice myself getting nervous for certain workouts because I knew what it felt like since I had done it 2 weeks prior and maybe I did it poorly. And it was like, okay, what did we take from that workout? Like, what did we learn
Mm.
the last time we did it? And like, how can we do it better this time? And so just using those skills, like you said, like quite literally at practice to set me up for the meet. And so that it wasn't something brand new because I had tried that. I had tried being I don't have to visualize today. Like it's practice or it's like a local meet, like it's whatever.
Mhm.
And then it comes to the big meet and you're like, oh wait, how do I do that? Or like I've never done this before and it's too different. So as much effort as like you put in on the track and reps and all that, you really have to dedicate yourself the same amount, if not more, on the mental side of things.
Absolutely. There was I think USC had a I don't know what the video was. Maybe you all were going to like Pac-12s or nationals, but you guys had created this like hype video on Instagram. And one of the coaches there, I'll never forget this quote. I know it didn't originate at USC, but I heard the coach say, "You don't rise to the level of the occasion, you fall to your level of practice." And I've just never forgotten that at all. And I don't know who from USC said it, but I know it was in that hype video. And that's something I to this day tell my athletes.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I remember Coach Watts had a conversation with me, I think my junior year, and he was like, I am going to train you so hard that you fall on success. He's like, it quite literally doesn't matter like what your brain says or what you're thinking. He's like, even your failures are going to be so successful. He's like, that's how hard we're going to train this year. And I mean, he was right. It was an incredible year. Like it was great. But yeah, I like that quote a lot because
Yeah.
we get in our own ways sometimes. So we're gonna fall back on that preparation.
Yeah, I want to tap into something that, well, first, I want to say congratulations on the back-to-back PRs this year, right? And especially after 6 years. And I'm sure those 6 years they came with their own challenges. And so being a pro, not PRing, making still teams,
Yeah.
right? And then even going back to what you said about, being in London, and it's just a lot of expectations and pressure. How do you deal with the expectation, not internally, but the external expectation of, okay, you're on this team, you got to perform. Let's see it. Go out there and do well. How do you deal with that?
It's tough. I'm still looking for that answer. I think what's really been helping me recently has been leaning on that inner circle of people that I have and kind of being like, externally, y'all don't know me. At the end of the day, like as much as we like social media and have these interviews and do conversations, it's like you don't really know me. It's still like this
Hmm.
parasocial relationship and like you only know as much as is out there online. And so it's kind of that reminder of like you have these expectations, but you don't know what my coach and I have discussed. Like you have no idea. Of course, the goal is to win and perform well and all these things. Like that's everyone's goal, whatever. But like say even after Paris, I got ninth place. I was the first one out of finals, and I was being told externally like horrible performance, like you're so disappointing, like you always flake at like all these things, DMs and comments and messages, just like telling me like it was such a poor performance. And my coach and I, when I finished the race, I was like, I had a great season. And he was like, absolutely did. He's like, we went out there, we fought, like you did what you could do. Like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, the people in my camp, the people in my camp and the people who know me and myself included were incredibly proud. Did we want more from our performances? Yeah, absolutely. But like it's really just like trying to quiet the noise. And I understand how loud it can be and how difficult that is, but it's really like reminding yourself that ultimately these folks don't know you. And ultimately, like all this external pressure and all this, like if they could do it, they'd be in your shoes.
Right.
And that's like that's just the fact of the matter at the end of the day. And so I think really, really having a strong sense of self and knowing who you are and knowing what your goals were and I don't know, just really, like I said, really just trying to block out the noise. And I know how hard that can be, but you have to just remind yourself, like, these folks don't know you.
Yeah.
And that's
That's gonna be like the main saying from this interview. These folks don't know you. They ain't got no clue, and if they could, they would. So,
like
yeah. If you could give your high school self some advice on the mental side of sports, what would you say?
super cliche, but I'm gonna explain a little more. I would say like have fun, which doesn't sound like a mental side of things, but as I kind of said before, like I had robbed myself of so many like joyful opportunities of like riding the bus to meets and like singing songs and like getting hyped in the locker room, like with my training partners and my teammates. And like those are such fun moments that like as a professional, you don't really have that. Like it's so individual, it can be so isolating. And so having those moments with a team around you and getting to compete with your friends, like that's not something to be taken for granted. And so I'd say have fun and enjoy those moments and like don't try to make it too big. Like at the end of the day, you're doing this sport because you enjoy it, because it's fun. Yes, you're good at it, but like you got into it because it was something that was supposed to be fun for you. And so I think remember that and don't try to make it bigger than it is. Don't try to like every time you step on the track, like I need to go pro straight out of high school, or like I need to skip like that's just go run. Just go
Hmm.
run and compete and like see how good you are for yourself, see how good like all the effort you've been putting in practice, like that's your chance to show off at the competition and really get to show everyone like here's what I've been working on. Here's how it's been working out. And so I'd say have fun and don't make the moment bigger than what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because with social media, so many of these young athletes are, there's two things that I notice. One is that there's a fascination with reaching success very quickly, and there's not really an understanding of the work that's put behind it, of course, just because social media is glorifying the successes. And on top of that, it's then created this feeling that they are behind and that I need to accomplish it now, and I need to run fast now, and I need to, hit this time now. And so I really appreciate you really emphasizing have fun and slowing down and appreciating the moments on the bus, appreciating the time with your teammates when you're going to these dual meets and you guys are bonding with each other, right? And you stop at a restaurant on the bus after and everybody grabs like some food. Like those are the moments that really matter and
Yeah.
will hold you when times get difficult. And so just holding on to that, I think as kids, we always wanted to grow up super fast. We always wanted to be making money, be in college, et cetera. But I really appreciate you saying that. And I hope that, people who are watching this, especially the high school athletes, are understanding that you do not have to be in a rush and your time will come. What is meant for you is going to find you.
For sure. It took me 6 years to get this elusive PR.
Yeah, can you talk about that journey just a little bit? Because that is also motivation as well, too.
Yeah, I ran before now. The first and last time I had touched 49 was 49.99 at the 2018 Pac-12 championship. And I thought I'd run 49 like numerous times after that, but I didn't until 2024, 6 years later at US Champs in the semifinal round, 49.8, and then double back in final and dropped 49.4. And so those 6 years just those 6 years were just in the back of my mind. It was always like, I want a PR, like I want a PR. But as a professional, it's not super common to PR all that often. Like the more important thing is making the team. And some people have to PR to do that. I didn't have to be quite like I was making the team and not having to PR to be quite honest.
Come on now.
So like it just wasn't the priority at the time. And we never chase times. When it comes, it comes. If it happens, it happens. And so it just what kept me during those 6 years was kind of having all these other successes in between. It was like, okay, I'm still running well, I'm still making teams, like I'm still winning races. And so a PR isn't necessary, but the ego wants it. I know what I've been doing at practice. Like
Absolutely.
it should be happening. And I mean, perfect timing. It couldn't have happened any sooner, any better, any more story fairy tale ending for it to come at US Champs in the fashion that it did, because no one thought I'd do anything, but
Hey, I was screaming at the TV for you. I was screaming.
because you're a real one.
There
But
we go.
yeah, just being patient and really staying true to your own journey and seeing other people PR and achieve things. It was like, okay, well that's not for me right now. Like
Mhm,
I do
mhm,
believe that it will be me at some point, like holding on to that belief, but minding your business, minding my business and staying in my own lane and being like, what's gonna be for me is gonna be for me.
mhm. And that ties back to what you said earlier of just having a strong sense of self and not feeling like I need to compare myself to other people. And I have faith on my journey that, like you
Yeah,
said, what's meant for me is what's meant for me.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So to end it, I always do this thing called rapid fire questions. And
Ooh,
it's 5 questions. We got 30 seconds.
okay,
Now, a lot of people have been struggling with the first one, but I got faith in you. I got faith in you. All right. So let me set the clock. I'll start the time right after I finish asking the first question.
okay.
All right. What is your go-to pregame hype song?
Oh my gosh. Um, I don't like hype songs. I do gospel, so I'm gonna say it's called You. I don't know who it's by.
Okay, hey, that's a hype song. What is your favorite cheat meal?
Ooh, pizza and hot wings.
What's your favorite off-day hobby?
YouTube.
If you could relive one moment from your career, what would it be?
The 2018 relay moment.
What is the best advice you've been given?
Be where your feet are.
Hey, you did it. You did it. Come on now. Well, thank you so much, Kendall. I really appreciated this. And I know that this is going to be a great episode for like I said, everybody to watch back and be able to get tidbits to help them as they're trying to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited for them to see it.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Take care.